Hello everyone and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Adz and before we get started with the podcast this week, if you want to get 15% off your surfing and outdoor gear, look no further. Go to North Core on the internet and use the code capital letters GrumpySurfer15 to receive 15% off your purchase. Also, the WaveKey guys, i.e. Brad Gerlach, has given me a 10% code to use until the 1st of July. Use the code WaveKey Grump to receive 10% off your subscription for your WaveKey technique from Brad Gerlach. Right, so let's get this started. On the podcast today, I have a returning guest who's just spent September through to March chasing the massive swells pumped into Nazareth. So please enjoy my conversation with big wave North Devon legend, Andy Cotten. Andy Cotten, welcome back to the podcast.
Cheers, mate. How's it going? All right?
Yeah, good, mate. Really, really good. Son, looks like you've been having some fun over the last few months.
Yeah, keeping busy. How about yourself?
Well, I've changed jobs. I've moved from Plymouth to North Devon, still living where I am at the moment. So, yeah, it's pretty decent. Get to surf a lot. So I'm living the dream, basically, before I leave.
You been down at Ben's Jiu-Jitsu?
I have, yeah. I went there a couple of weeks ago and I trained there last night as well. Nice. Yeah, so... It's a proper little sweatbox.
It's a good setup, isn't it?
Yeah, really good. It's really nice and clean, and I think he's got quite a few people coming down to
that's good.
To train with him.
That's stoked. I'm sure it'll be successful. But yeah,
are you going to get yourself a bit of jiu-jitsu?
Do you know? Probably not. I don't know. Actually, loads of my mates do it, but I'm just a little bit cautious. I don't know.
In what way cautious?
I was worried that I'd get my knees hurt or something.
You're talking to someone that spent 22 years in the military carrying the world on his back.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. But I don't know, a couple of my mates, surfing mates, do a lot of jiu-jitsu. And actually, they prefer jiu-jitsu rather than surfing. Yeah, that's their passion, And they're always carrying little injuries, like shoulder injuries or knee injuries. And at the minute where I am in my surfing, it's just like, I want to limit injury risk, as minimal as possible. So
I feel it's definitely one of those things where you have to not be all in, but when you're a beginner, it's quite grinding. If I'm perfectly honest, you do get a few niggles and stuff until you start learning. It's like anything; it's a skill, isn't it? When you just start learning that skill and you get better at it, then you can start moving a little bit better and. Yeah,
because at the moment I spend pretty much all my time when I'm not surfing, training and trying sorting out all my injuries, rather than trying to make any new ones. So it's just that's But I'm definitely taking the kids down. I'm frothing to take the kids down.
Yeah, he's had a massive influx. By the way, we're talking about Yama Jiu-Jitsu, which is in North Devon. A friend of ours, Ben Roos, runs it. Really good place if you're in North Devon to doing a bit of jiu-jitsu. He's had a massive influx in kids, I think, from all age groups, and I think that's more so than the adults. But the adults haven't really started until maybe May time.
Oh, what, because of the rules and
Well, until the rules change on the 17th of May, so this will probably come out after that. Yeah. But May, June time, I think then that's when it's going to start rolling in. You'll start be able to open it up a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about a little bit about your antics in Nazareth. So when did you go out of there last year?
Last year, God, it's so quick, doesn't it? So strange. I went last year, obviously, with the pandemic and obviously the travel restrictions and stuff like that. I went out not really knowing what the plan was and how long I'd be out there, and I ended up being out there. I went out late September. I was out there for the whole time, 6 months, which was good. It was good. It enabled me to get into a really good rhythm and routine, and it's pretty much like a second home, really. And from a professional surfing point of view, the support you get from the local community and the council on that, and you have access to the gym, to the pool, and obviously the waves are amazing and. They make it easy for you, So it was a lot of hours spent, working on the surfing and working on the fitness. So it was good.
Did you just go out there on your own, or did you have a team of people? with you?
I went out. So usually, usually pre-COVID, I'd go out with Blakey for the first month. We usually do like a couple sort of surf fit breathing workshops to start the season off. And then he hangs around for a few weeks afterwards, and we train a bit, and then he leaves like mid-October, like late October. This year was different. I sort of went out by myself, but like I know everyone there, and obviously I'll work with all the surf. It's a tight, big wave surfing's small, isn't it? Like big wave surfing's even smaller. So yeah, like it's pretty tight knit crew. So.
Did you? I saw on your Instagram feed you were living in a motorhome. Were you living in that on your own and driving it around?
Yeah. So I got. I'm always looking at how to do it on a budget. And although the rentals are pretty cheap in Portugal, the winter rentals. The van life was definitely a cheaper way to do it, and it sort of killed two birds with one stone. With sort of having a vehicle down there as well. And I was really lucky. I hooked up with a company in Germany called Sunlight. Obviously, they convert make these sick mobile homes and camper vans, and they hooked me up for 6 months. So and it was like van life. It sounds like roughing it a little bit. It was like. It's like a penthouse on wheels, like electric, heating, gas heating, fridge, everything, like it's like I pretty much had a few pretty sick spots where I used to park it, where I could watch the waves and not be in anyone's way, like you get to know all the spots, so yeah, it was a good winter.
How did it affect you physically and mentally? Because obviously being away from that amount of time, away from your family as well, it must have affected you, and you must have had ways of dealing with it as well.
There's two sides to it, isn't there? Like having that option of coming home taken out of the equation, because it ended up being, Portugal went on the red list.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, well, if I want to come home, I've got to do these COVID hotel things, and obviously that then it gets unaffordable. So having those options taken away from you was kind of. It's kind of nice, like rather than sometimes when you had to have all those options and you're sort of like weighing up, I want to surf and I want to train, but I want to be home see the kids. That's hard, and that gets you battling in your mind. But having that option taken away, it was kind of nice, and to just be okay, right, 100% surfing, training, fitness, and that's all I'm going to think about now for the next 6 months, and then when I come back, I can go 100%, family and kids, and I think that's and it's great. Like it does have. I've been back now a month, and I've surfed once. So it has the swings and roundabouts. Like it was pumping at the weekend, and I had A's, and it's just like it's like, but I didn't even miss it. It's like okay, right, it's like now. It's family time, kid time, like spend time with the boy and do stuff that he wants to do. It's not about me trying to go surfing. So
yeah, I guess once you've been in that position where you've been away for 7 months and you've been doing something relentlessly back to back to back, you almost kind of want to take yourself away from it a little bit, because it can also be quite overwhelming, I think, sometimes.
We live in that, everything's quite fast paced and progression's quick. So sometimes when you take your foot off the gas a bit, you feel like, oh, I'm slowing down, I'm getting behind, but then at the same time, it's also nice to have that time away, and to sort of, recharge the batteries and sort of think about something else. I do find that, like, once I stop, like, I get your fitness drops off quick. I actually get more little niggles and pains when I stop. Like when I keep going, if I keep moving and I keep doing everything, like I feel I can work through a lot of things. And
that's what's happening to me now. So I stopped doing any sort of, let's call it weight training. I haven't done any for months, and my rhomboids started going, my knees are tweaking a little bit, I've got lower back pain. I just started doing it again last week, and I can feel the change already by just doing a little bit. I'm not talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, get massive, I'm taking human growth hormone stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking, I'm doing a little bit of strength work to time me by, to do a bit of jiu-jitsu, to go surfing, to time me off, and I can feel it coming back a bit. And like what you're saying there, it's really strange that you take that little bit of time off because you need, inverted commas, recovery. Well, that recovery is just as bad for you from actually doing something.
Yeah, I think the best sort of recovery is the moving recovery. Maybe not as hard or as full on as you might do it. When you need to. But yeah, like recovery is not just. I think recovery is not just lying on the couch watching TV eating crisps. It's good recovery though. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not. And but that's what I've been doing for the last month. But yeah, it's not that.
Talking about training, what sort of things were you doing to train while you were out there? When the swell and that wasn't hitting the coast.
I spent a lot of time in the pool. Which is like Nazare's got a great pool, and it's actually really quiet. For some reason, a lot of, like, when I'm at home, I use the pool at the leisure centre, obviously, and it's always packed. It's hard to get your moments where you got a lane relatively free to do some lengths and do some breath holding stuff. But the pool that I use there is it's relatively quiet, and so I swam a lot. Had quite a good little program in the gym, focusing mainly on leg weights and then some functional movement. So keeping like functional movement. I mean like strong, and
I can imagine you do quite a lot of proprioceptive work because of and balance work for the joints because of the pressure that the size of waves that you were surfing on.
So it's just sort of making sure you're sort of strong and balanced, and you're moving nicely. But saying that, I came back with a little bit of a imbalance in my legs, which is sort of putting my back out a little bit. Which I was at the physios last week, and I was getting lower back pain, and they were sort of saying that I was a little bit imbalanced. But that happens, over when you've been surfing, especially like toe surfing for a lot over 6 months. You do get, you find that your one leg favours the other one. So.
Were you doing a lot of breath work in the pool as well?
Yeah, I don't go bonkers. I do more breath work for me now is changed over the years. Whereas I think, 5 years ago, I was focusing on maybe how long I could hold my breath, over more now functional, like breath hold under high heart rate, and putting it more into sort of why am I holding my breath, so, and then also breath work as well. I do some of the other stuff I do with breath work is more out the pool, and it sort of transcends into sort of meditation sort of side of things, and feel good and recovery, sleep recovery, that sort of thing.
You do quite a lot of hypoxic training, So I know you talked about raising your heart rate and then putting yourself into that element where, let's say, if you got wiped out on a 50-footer. You're going to be held down for a long period of time, but your heart rate's up there. Yeah,
we do. We do some stuff like that. I do some stuff like that with Blakey on dry land with the hypoxic stuff like movement and breath hold. Which is I kind of like it because it's amazing how you don't have to hold your breath that long and move around a little bit, and it's really testing. The stuff that we do in the pool would be there's a lot of visualizing stuff, but similar stuff, you're reenacting, real life situations which you'd find yourself in the sea. Say you'd sprint 25 meters, and then you'd sort of visualize, I didn't get the wave, so you it's like a sprint paddle, didn't get the wave, turn around and get a wave break on your head, So then you'd sort of sprint 25 meters, and you breath hold for 20 seconds, then one breath. And then, to say it's 3-wave set, and do that 3 times. Just sort of reenact sort of situations which you may find yourself in, But yeah, that's good. And it's good. It's all about. It's not always about pushing everything to the max all the time. It's all about confidence building and feeling comfortable, getting used to what it's like. having to hold your breath with really high heart rate, and hit like literally, that like hearing your heart pound, like underwater, and just so when it does happen, when it does happen, like which inevitably it does, at some point, it's a familiar situation, and so once the more familiar it is, the less likely you are to panic, and
when you're in those situations, let's tie it. I'm in the military. Let's tie it to the military conversation.
Yeah,
you always train for the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So if you're training for that, and that does eventually happen, because inevitably it's going to, especially doing towing surfing.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to get hit by a big one, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
But if you're trained to that point where what, I've actually done worse than this, you can come out of it all right and go again. Whereas, like, if you're not repetitively putting yourself into those situations, then you're never really going to learn from it.
No, yeah, and I think it is about stressing the body and the mind, and then being comfortable with that stress. Which I'm sure is pretty. Not that I wouldn't know, but I just imagine that's quite a military sort of, philosophy, I suppose. I don't know, like.
Yeah, I guess. Well, train hard, play hard is the kind of the philosophy. But I think everyone uses that euphemism anyway, don't they?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the swells that came through. So, I'm going to use the word tracking. I was tracking quite a lot of stuff, obviously following you on Instagram, and a few other guys like Garrett and people like that were there. How was the swells this season?
Yeah, there's always, like every season, there's always like one or two swells which are like classed as sort of record breaking or groundbreaking. There was definitely one of those this season. It came right at the beginning, which it came, I think it was like late October. Hurricane Epsilon sort of hit.
Yeah, well, that hit everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pumping everywhere, and it was great. It was great again, like with the COVID situation. A lot of decisions were made for you, like, because often I was looking at places that I wanted to go, and obviously, but we couldn't move anywhere, and so it was sort of the decision to stay at Nazare was made up for me, which was good. And it was again, it was like another, it's one of the top 5 days in Nazareth for sure, that I've ever seen. Maybe, yeah.
I spoke to Pete Conroy, which I know you've had training with, and you've surfed with as well, and he surfed Mullimore, and some of the waves that came through there, with Connor as well, catching some absolutely chasms of barrels. I mean, they were bigger than caves. They were like hangar doors big, Just watching that, and then obviously did you see the swell that came through here at Croyd?
Yeah, was that? No, but I think that was a later swell, though, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. It might have been a similar one. It was round about the same time, anyway.
But like the whole of Europe was just on fire. Yeah, and that's why my heart and soul. Like I love Mulletmore, and that's like for me. It's where I started like surfing a lot of big waves, and I've had some of my best waves ever there probably. So when I was looking at that, I knew. Like Mulletmore, and there's a couple other waves in that bay which would have been good, and I was like, that's where I want to go. But Ireland was pretty tight at that time, and it would have been tough to pull it off, almost impossible, So, but yeah, it did look good. And then Connor got that crazy one. That one, like, it's just like next level. It was sick.
There were some really good edits that came out of that as well. There were some good edits that came out of Nazare as well, but they were quite standouts for me, really, just because of the sheer ferocity of it that was coming through. Because it's a real. The only way to describe it is it's a fucking gnarly wave, isn't it? Yeah,
well, it's not just tall; it's just also super heavy, and it's like one of probably the biggest, longest barrels in the world, maybe. Definitely in Europe at that size, and it's potentially makeable. Like makeable 60-foot barrels. Which if you've got the minerals to pull into one of those things, like Connor has, like it's definitely like it's going to be like the wave, of a lifetime for sure. One of those.
I mean, when I try and compare it to things that I've surfed, I mean, obviously we've talked before. I've never surfed anything, as big as you do. But sometimes when you feel the water even hit you on the head on a solid 8-foot day, and then you think in comparison to the size of what that's like landing on you, it's almost inconceivable.
Yeah. It's the wrong sort of line or the move, well, it's going to knock your head off, man. That's like, it definitely knock you out. And I think it's always been, I've never really been, and I think I've sort of mentioned this in a previous chat we've had, but, I've never really ever been scared of like that drowning thing, It's always been, for me, it's been about either being knocked unconscious by the lip or by the impact, or having like, your arm ripped off or like your leg ripped off, literally, like broken bones, So that's always been my stress and my worry, rather than drowning.
What were some of your memorable sessions from this season then?
For me, it's like, it's never like the biggest days. It's always, the ones that go under the radar, so to speak, like, which are just often when it's quiet, when it's big, clean and quiet, and people kind of get, especially, I don't know what the best word to describe it is. It's not like lazy. It's more like I just feel sometimes they're just a bit relaxed about. So a lot of the crew there will like wake up, check the waves, have a coffee. There's no rush. Like, and some mornings like you can get up. Like, I don't even check the waves. But now it's going to ref. If it's offshore, just get in the sea, like, and you can get like an hour and a half with no one out, like, and it'll be pumping, and the sun's coming up, it goes all pink. It's like an amazing light, and I think there's a couple of sessions like that where I've had like, and you're like, this is what it's about. It's not always about like the biggest day or the biggest wave. It's about moments where it's just you and a mate, or you and a couple of your mates, and you're just sharing waves and getting some sick rides, and there's no one around, like, and it's epic. I love it. That's what surfing's about, isn't it?
I think sometimes with people like yourself that are in, the public eye and, on the pedestal where you are, a lot of it gets lost in translation, where at the end of the day, we're all in this sport stroke lifestyle, as, if you want to be cheesy about it, as journeymen, because we're looking for that swell, those offshore days. We're looking for those days where, you're surfing on there, there's no wind, it's glassy as anything. You sat in that pink sunset. It's kind of like the dream. I mean, I'm not saying that's why we do it. However, that's all kind of part and parcel with it. And it's very easy to get fixated on the point of, Cotty caught this 70-foot wave, he's a legend and all this sort of thing. But, at the end of the day, you're doing it for your own personal life experiences too.
Yeah, and I think you totally hit the nail on the head there, like, people do get fixated with like a single wave, or, how it's measured, or, a claim or whatever. And really, like, that's not like, it's not about that, is it? Like, and it often is, like, it is those those days where they just go under the radar. It's like it's still big, or but it doesn't have to be. But it's just perfect and beautiful. And for me, it's always about like with good people and mellow. Like a mellow crowd. You're not hustling for waves. You're not like, and that's what's and then you're like, like those are the ones that stick in your mind, your memory, like, and they're definitely the days where, like, because often those biggest days, like, they are, it's work at the end of the day. They're work. That's the work days, like, they're stressful. There is a lot of anxiety, fear, and a lot on the line in every single way, like, because they're the one, those days are the ones that maybe make a career, or break a career, So they're the days, but there's a lot of not necessarily, there's different feelings that go with those days,
When those days do occur, I can't imagine you're stood there going, I could break my back today, or I could get knocked out today. It's never like that. It's like preparation. You're getting focused to go out there and do it, because at the end of the day, if you didn't love doing what you did, why would you do it in the first place?
No, exactly, but it's you do those, you push those days, those like the epsilon swell, you push those days, because it leads to like the week after or the day after, when it's like, 15, 20 feet, glass, no one out, because that's the magic, like that's like the love, like it's fun. But those days, those fun days, it's all building up to that single moment or the biggest swirl or, that biggest wave, which that's the real work.
The one thing I really wanted to ask you, because it comes up a lot in the interviews that you do, and you can probably see where I'm coming with this as well. And I know we talked about it on the last podcast, is the wipeout where you broke your back. Have you got to the point now where you're almost kind of sick of telling the same story over and over again? Because, and I'll use this analogy a little bit, is I remember seeing it for the first time. It was on when you won the WSL Wipeout of the Year or something, wasn't it? Now, I looked at it from two perspectives. I looked at it at the point, well, it's not really the best award to get because you haven't caught the wave that you wanted.
No.
And you got super injured doing it, and you got the award for it, and you were out for ages with an injury. There must be a point where you kind of like, I'm kind of sick about talking the same thing over and over again, and this can't be something that sticks with me as a legacy,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, I think people love carnage, don't they? And they love that. They love that. Like, oh my god, like, the classic. Oh, he nearly died. I think I even saw on like reported falsely that I did die, or this guy died, and people love that. Weirdly, they love that, but for me as a surfer, it's like, it kills me, like, to think, oh shit, like I've actually caught in my career, I've caught some pretty big good waves which I haven't fallen off on. I know, get it. So like to be remembered or known for the guy who broke his back, it's like kind of like, oh man, like just it's actually it's really good motivation for me to just keep going until I get that one, which is gonna erase that.
I mean, you caught some really good waves this season as well. I think there was one video that I saw of you, and it was a right. It was really zoomed out so you could see the point, and it was a really, really big day, and you came into it.
That was the Epsilon swell, I think.
Yeah, and it was huge, and I was like, it's probably one of the biggest things I've seen caught there.
Yeah, but but it's for me, it's never about. I think we can, as surfers, well, it was just about just thinking about or like celebrating something you caught, and for me, it's always about thinking about the next one. like it's done, job's done, day's over, it's done. Right, let's think about what the next wave want to be, how I can improve myself, how can I be fitter, how can I surf longer, how can I get a better line. And I think that this year I have been more critical of going over footage and sort of trying to work on. I worked loads this year on board design, more than I've ever done.
Which is something I'd like to talk to you about a little bit later on as well.
So this is the first year. Like previously, I'd like get one or two boards at the beginning of the season and just make it work. And this year, I invested a bit of money. I got like 5 boards straight away. Instantly, it was like, okay, right, don't like that. Right, gave that back. Ordered two new ones. And I felt my progression come quickly within the season.
Who was shaping them? So
they were made by Org, which is a Portuguese manufacturer.
Okay. But
they were designed by Dylan Longbottom, so Dylan Shapes.
Yeah.
So it was great to work with both like Dylan on the sort of design and Org with the manufacturing. And they turned them around quickly and get them back to me. So I felt like it was a progress. And I got to a place where like I was working at like the weight that I liked and in what sizes, and it was a really good season for that for me. And then looking at the footage and saying, okay, I can see that this board, like, because sometimes what you feel and what you see are two very different things. I can remember a wave and thinking, oh yeah, that felt really good, and then looking at the footage and you look, oh, pretty, it looks pretty wobbly there and a bit slow. Like it's not, it's not looking as good as it felt, like, and so being super critical on that, and then also that works on how the lines I was approaching as well, like working on like refining my lines on bigger waves, and so it's critical but fast, and making them rather than like of more of a vertical line, which sometimes is fast, but then you sort of come to a slower bottom turn, and like just working on things like that. Like
what are the contours and stuff of the boards? Are the boards that are being shaped like? Going into a little bit of the analytical state of it, is there a lot of V, a lot of concave in the bottom? As it a big thing that's come out at the moment is channels in the bottom of boards, isn't it, to create more drive and lift? I mean, it's been around for years.
Yeah. Well, none of the toe boards that I've been running like have channels on that. All of them actually have single concave. So the ones that are running like a flat on the first, like it's flat bottom contour. It's the first like to the 12-inch mark from the nose, and then it goes into like a single concave, and then it's almost flat as it comes out the tail. It's almost flat again. But the most important thing that I found with the toe boards is that they're the right thickness. Like the first batch I had were a little bit too thick, and when I say too thick, they were like 2 inches thick. Yeah, so it's pretty thin still, but there's a bit too much like foam on the rail, and with the speeds that you're getting, when you're flying down a wave at like 50 kilometers an hour plus, like you want the rails to be, if you're going to start doing turns, and you want them to be a little bit thinner. So I was working more on like the rail, the thickness of the rails, and the weights is the most important thing that I found.
Yeah, I was going to say
weight distribution.
Is the glassing a little bit thicker to put the weight into the board, or is it the foam?
They're all glassed similar. It'd be like like I think it was like 3.6 on the deck, 2.6 on the bottom. But they're it's just the weight, like lead. We get lead put into the board and where it goes. So the weight.
I always wondered that. I always wondered whether you actually had a little bit of weight put into them. As well.
It's lead put in. So like almost like lead pellets, put into the board, and whereabouts the lead's put in the board. And it's funny, like some of the guys were, everyone has their personal preferences. And previously I've been riding really, really heavy boards, like 12 kgs, and this year I played around a lot more with like that mid-range sort of weight. One of my favourite was 8 kgs, but I rode anything from like 5 kgs up to like 11, and I was testing those sort of weights and how it goes. And again, it's like you're trying to like weigh up removability versus speed versus like how like how you're going to draw your line. So obviously like a heavy board is going to go fast in the straight line, but then you want it to be also be how big wave surfing is progressing. You want it to be removable, maneuverable, and at some point, relatively snappy and quick. Like off the top and stuff like that. So,
do you find that the wave at Nazare is quite difficult to draw out those classic lines where you're taking off, you come to the bottom and you draw out that big bottom turn? Because there's a lot of guys, including yourself, that take off and they literally boom, set your line, charging for that shoulder sometimes.
It is a hard performance wave because every wave's different. The last third of the wave is like, that's like the longest stretch, if you know what I mean, and it's actually like quite fat, so you don't want to get caught like doing bottom turns, top to bottom. Like it's not like Mully where it's like there's a definite bottom of the wave. The reason you're going so fast and it's so bumpy, especially on those giant days where like just holding a line can be hard. And I know like from video footage, sometimes it looks quite smooth. It's not.
Well, that's where the weight of the board comes into there to get through that chopper, isn't it?
And you're flying, you're going so fast, and it is like, surfing through like a load of moguls, on a mountain, like it's so gnarly on the legs. So So yeah, and I think that's the thing that sort of is the most for me. Like, although I love Terra Nazare, like on those biggest days, it's like it's kind of very like you see a couple of waves and it's kind of boring, like I'm kind of like, and although that I think you can definitely get the biggest wave over there, like it's when you see like places like Mulletmore and like you saw that wave of Connor, like you're like, oh, that's from a surfing point of view, like that's what I still dream about, like big perfect barrels, like you're saying, like, and so that's very much what I still think about, and I dream about getting those sessions at Mully still,
Mate, you can keep that shit. I'm not. No, doesn't float my boat at all.
No. Yeah, but like, yeah, no, just like get one wave, one of those. If you got one wave at Mully, like, I think you'd be pretty happy for the next few years, for sure.
Forever.
Yeah.
Turn me into one of them. I get a big barrel, stood up, don't get smashed, happy.
No, see, that's it. But that's it. That'll be the start of it. You go, oh man, that was amazing. Then you want another one, like it's a slippery slope. It's the same. The same goes for thinking back. It's the same for the big waves at Nazareth. Actually, like you get a couple, full, or you have a good surf session, and then it going that fast on water on a moving wave on a moving mountain. Like the whole thing is pretty addictive.
Let's talk a little bit about the other boards, because we've talked a lot about your towing stuff. So you've been doing quite a bit of foiling as well in this country and over there. How does that come about, and how does that fit in with everything else?
I originally got into foiling, like anyone. I saw all the videos of like Kai and Laird and Hawaii and that, and I actually thought it would be how you'd ride the biggest wave ever. Because obviously Nazare it's obviously really, really big a lot, but it gets really bumpy and really hard to go fast enough on the waves. And I thought, okay, right, this is how you're gonna like ride the 100-foot wave, is on a foil. I then got a foil and realised how bloody hard it was. Yeah. So it took me a couple of years to sort of get, just about, the base level skill set on it, and then I started taking it to Nazare, and then I realised how fast you went and how it opened up like a whole different aspect of danger with speed and hitting the water. And then I just thought, actually, you know what, like you can keep foiling big waves. I don't want to foil big waves. I just want to foil small waves, and that was as far as we got. So I just been I love foiling. It's really good fun.
I watched a little video documentary of Tom Carroll, and he's got a few like his old and bold mates that he goes with there, and some of them, they've got these big scars down the face and stuff, and you don't realise that when they come off, these things are razor sharp underneath. Yeah,
they're sharp, but it's also the speeds and the height, because you go in go super fast, because you basically ride into the swell lines before they hit the beach and slow down, So the speeds is just bonkers that you're getting, and obviously you're out of the water and high, so you can be falling at from a meter above the water, goodness how fast, you're going again like nuts speeds. So I got pretty bad like whiplash sort of injury, and then I was just like, maybe I don't want to foil, maybe falling. Big waves isn't ready yet. Maybe when my skill set becomes a bit higher, maybe it'd be more of an option. But at the moment, I'm just enjoying it. Like I could do it out on the bar at Salton sometimes, and I paddle foil a little bit. But yeah, again, I love like toe foiling. It's like what I love. Like just riding a bit of moving ocean, and it's a buzz. You look at every once you get into the foiling thing, and I know like it's like anything, a lot of people that don't do it, it gets a bit of a bad name, but once you get into it and you can you're flying along, it's like it's super addictive, and you look at the ocean and look at waves in a different way.
You definitely draw on different lines with them, can't you?
Like I wish one thing that I wish I'd done. as a teenager growing up, I wish I'd done more water sports. I was just so like laser beam focused on shortboarding, and then laser beam focused on big waves. I wish I'd sort of done more wind sports, like kite surfing, windsurfing, stand up paddleboard, like all of it. But I didn't. I was just so focused on like just shortboarding, just big wave surfing, and sort of now looking back, I was like, oh, maybe. I think they all have real key bits which all benefit each other,
So Andy Cotten's going to be a professional kite surfer or windsurfer now.
It's too late for me now, man. But yeah, if I could turn back the clock, maybe I would have been. Yeah.
What other boards did you take with you? Because I can imagine in between the swells where they weren't macking up a million feet in the air, you were able to move around a bit in your motorhome and go to different breaks and stuff.
Yeah, like every trip I always check a standard shortboarding, and for me, standard shortboards, like I've been riding the Bradley Solution, so it's like 6'1", 19.5, 2.5, a bit of meat in there, make it a bit easier for paddling, a bit of weight on me, but
mate, John and mid-length, the mid-length crew.
Yeah, well, actually, so I always take a standard shortboard just because that's where it's always been for me. But I ended up buying this season a 610 20.
Good choice.
Yeah. So I was riding that like just on like the smaller weaker days. And that was like a Rob Vaughan 610. Again, it's like 21, is it? I think it's super wide.
Yeah.
Not too thick, but it's so fun. Like it holds, but it's super loose. It's really easy to paddle. I think it's just, again, it's like, it's trying to make it when I'm almost like going, oh, it's not really shortboardable, I don't want to take a longboard out. And, it's just trying to make sessions fun and make me want to surf, as much as possible. And it definitely did that. It was super fun.
I've definitely found twin fins have always been one of the boards that I just love riding. I've ridden a variety of shortboards. I've had the Jed Knoll twin fin. I think it's something ridiculous, like 5'8", but it's like nearly 3 inches thick. Proper, like old school swallowtail. It's an amazing board.
Yeah.
And I've only just discovered in the last year fins. Whoa, that is the game changer.
Yeah.
I put like some keel fins in, some MR tool.
Little performance ones. Or?
Yeah, like the ones he had in his old 70s board. They're really like tall fins, but they're not really that raked.
Right.
So it holds really well in the water, but you can still turn it like quickly.
Pivot it.
Yeah, pivot it a little bit more. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
I've even I lost a kill fin, but I bought some kill fins and put it in my mid-length, inverted commas. Love using that term. And amazing it is. Because it holds so well. And who would have thought the circle would come all the way back round again to people having fun and stuff like that?
I think that's just our age, isn't it? Oh no, no, I don't know.
I don't know. Was it my perspective?
Yeah. I think it's just totally. It's totally. But again, it's just like educating yourself on equipment and also like sometimes it's just changing what I want out of surfing is constantly changing as well. Sometimes I think like it used to be all about I've got to try and do like the hardest off the top or the fastest turn or like everything has to be performance related, whereas like now I don't even care. I just want to like cruise and I want to just get 5 or 6 waves, draw some nice lines and have fun. Like I'm not. It doesn't have to be all about performance. It's just about fun.
So I think I've realised why you like big wave surfing is you get towed into it, so you don't have to paddle. Yeah. That's fine. You got an engine, and then all you do is just make sure you're standing up and go in a straight line.
Exactly,
Boom, done.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah, exactly.
Easy as that.
Well, no, it's about catching. I think it's about catching waves, and the more waves you catch, the better you become. But also, that's what it's fun, isn't it? That's what it's all about.
So being in the Saltrock HQ, it'd be a little bit lackluster not to talk about your leaving Saltrock, but now you've rejoined as an ambassador again. You talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I suppose, like growing up in North Devon, I think like any, I remember Saltrock from when I was like, 14, 15, so yeah, it's been a big part of surfing and North Devon, and I used to manage a shop in Croyd many moons ago, and then I was lucky enough to ride for them 4 or 5 years ago, and then coming back on the team last year was sick. It's sick to be back on board. But yeah, I feel it's a big family, so it feels like I never left. So.
It's really strange. I had a conversation with Ross Thompson a few weeks back about like the formation and the founding of Saltrock and how it developed into the beast it is now.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, it was Saltrock, Fat Willie's Surf Shop, and what was the other one? I think it might have been Zuma Bay. Were the ones that I had like T-shirts for and stuff, and it's amazing that the brand is still going strong as it is now, and I think it's one of those very few brands within the UK. And bearing in mind we're in a very small country that still has got quite a broad grasp, maybe across Europe as well.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I suppose it's built on good foundations, and they've always stayed true to their sort of core of surfing, and it's still, the HQ is still in North Devon, so yeah, it's great.
Let's talk a little bit about the Wings for Life charity run that you did. So it's the weekend just gone, was it?
Yeah, still feeling it now. I don't know if you noticed me hobbling in, but yeah.
Yeah, it was that wheelchair that got pulled up to the door before you come up the stairs, and then the old man lift that brought you up.
Yeah, it's the hips and the legs, God. No, it's good. I do it every year. I've been doing it for the last 6 or 7 years.
So what's the whole concept of it? Because I had a little bit look of it last night, and it looked like you're being chased by time.
So it's a spinal cord charity, like research, and 100% of the money raised goes to the charity. Wings for Life. Yeah, it's a run, and rather than just a distance, you run until you get caught, and then basically, and after so you start running, and then after half an hour you get a catch car that starts. Obviously, it used to be pre-COVID. It used to be obviously events, and one time it was at Silverstone one year in Cambridge, and they actually have a car that chases. You have a route, and then the car starts, and as the car overtakes you, you're out.
Has he got like a big net on the front and catches all the
people?
All up,
yeah. Yeah. But no, so that's good. It's a great event, and it worked like a great event like that. But now it was just on the app. So I started at Braunton Athletics track, did a few laps of that, and then just kept it as flat as possible. So I went onto the Tarka Trail and headed towards Barnstable, and I actually get caught. So it sort of tells you, on the app when you sign it, it tells you how far you run and how far the car is from you. And I got caught in Rock Park, which was good because I definitely didn't want to run any further. I'd run 12,
How far did you go?
12k.
12k.
Okay. The first I ever ran was probably on one of the first ones, and I think I did 24k was the first I've ever done. But I'm not a runner, and when I signed up to do it, then you download the app and they do a great training program on the app, to prepare you for it. Didn't do any of it, so obviously straight into the run. So right off the back, 12k. After probably not running since the last world run that I did the year before. So yeah, I'm feeling it today.
Sounds like a lot of people that do the London Marathon.
Yeah.
Oh, be all right.
Yeah, it's nothing, is it?
I'll just knock out a 12, 13-minute mile pace. Yeah, my legs don't move after 10.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, my legs were giving up. I was hitting was hitting a wall. My legs are hurting.
There's another little project that I know that you're being part of over the summer with the Gone Wild Festival.
Oh yeah.
Are you still doing that with Blakey?
Yeah. It's it looks like a good festival. Me and Blakey are gonna be doing some breathing workshops, and mindset stuff. I do loads of we've done some some really good stuff. The past, and present actually with Blakey. Like I found, part of my physical training with like big wave surfing and stuff like that. A lot of it has been sort of mindset and breath work, and Blakey's been a real help and sort of guidance on that, he comes up, he's come up with some really good methods and research, and then we've been like, trying it and then putting it into practice with what, with what I do in the sea, and we've done some really good workshops and stuff. And I found it's funny because it's such a thing that I wouldn't have really taken seriously, when I started my surfing career, or as like a late early 20s or whatever. I've been like, breath work, mind work, that's not going to benefit me at all. Like it's all about putting hard time in the ocean and in the gym. That's what's going to do it. The more I do, the more I think it or I know it's helped.
That's also an age thing, I think. I've also developed this as well. So especially, it really started last year, and I was doing quite a bit of yoga. We talked about I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu. I was training like 5 times a day, plus my job as well, running people around, keeping them fit, doing training programs, all that sort of thing, as well as fitting surfing in. And the family, I'm just all over the place. See them plates?
How do you do that?
All the plates at IKEA have just been spun on a little pole. That's what happened. I've completely lost track where I am now. But the mindset and the breath work and breathing with meditation is definitely something that I've focused on a little bit more. And yes, being a little bit older and having that spare time in the background where I'm kind of thinking on my previous experiences of what's happened to me have started to come up a little bit, not a lot, like a little bit, like in the dead time I would call it. So, having that mindfulness, and after the TV's gone off, 10 minutes before I go to bed, sitting down, counting 150, 200 breaths and just being quiet really sets me up a lot. And I mean, I know it's not to the extreme about what you're talking about, but it's still on the same lines. And I think everybody, if you're listening to this, who's never done it before, would really benefit from even just giving it a go. It's a bit hard to get into to start with, but once you start getting there, it really does work.
Yeah, well, we we've done a lot, and it is, you have to buy into it, and you have to really sort of want to buy into that. But we've started working. When we've done stuff with a few sort of rugby teams, and we've done stuff with professional football teams as well as before, and I think it does like, and you notice like the more you do, then the more you sort of understand about yourself, and like the patterns you might have. My thing was about understanding patterns like before and after swells, to prepare myself mentally before a swell, but also to sort of come out of that swell, because obviously, after like a full day of like, adrenaline and sort of high stress and anxiety and all that, it's like to come out of that, like a nice transition out of it, rather than just stop, and then, you can leave yourself with a few sleepless nights or too much energy, what to do. And, so using that and spotting like little things that I've done in the past, like self-sabotage stuff, like, okay, right, this is what I need to work on. This is what I need to stretch more, sleep, to get my sleeping pattern straight back into place, and so, it's really helped loads, really helped loads.
The reason why I mentioned the Gone Wild Festival is because the guy who I used to work with, Ollie Mason, he's the guy that's organising. Yeah. He lives literally down the road from me. So, which is kind of random.
Because is it near you?
It's Powdram Castle, so it's the other side of the estuary from Lympstone Village. Right. So it's literally the other side.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I can't wait. It's gonna be a good festival.
It's a cool little place as well, because it's you've got this little white castle on the top of this hill, and they've done quite a lot of festivals there. Like 70s and 80s themed ones. Me and the missus, one year, we had this 14-foot kayak, and we paddled the other side of the estuary through an anchor out, and we were just watching the bands. It was well cool.
Classic.
Have you got any other future projects that are coming up at the moment?
Project-wise, well, there's always I've always got little projects and that's going on. I've been working on the big one for me coming out this year is the Savage Waters project, which I've been working on for years. So like, and it's finally coming. We wrapped up, finished filming in Christmas time, last Christmas. And that's about obviously it's adventure surfing, but also where it takes us really. It's about one of my friends, Matt Knight, has got like a catamaran that we've been sailing around Europe and looking for waves, and we started an island in 2015, and it ended in the Azores in 2021. So yeah, it's like a 6-year mission, and it's been produced by Whipsy, a production company, and and obviously Mikey Corker, who I've been working with on and off for years as well. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
So you can find that on Instagram and Facebook pages, isn't there?
Yeah, they've got socials on Instagram and Facebook, but obviously it's going to be edited into a documentary and then and distributed. But those sort of finer details are yet to see where it's going to end up. But yeah, it's going to be a good one for sure.
I will put the Instagram and Facebook page into
if you
the
check
bio
those out,
as
you
well.
can see a little bit what it's about.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so to finish off the podcast, because we've been going for an hour now, I'm going to do a little quick fire round, which we didn't do last time, which I've now put in.
All right.
Quick fire round, and I love saying this. I always say this. I love saying this. It's never a quick fire round.
All right.
So the first question is, if you had one surfboard fin set up for the rest of your life, would it be a single fin, twin fin, thruster, bonzer, or finless?
So it's going to be thruster, isn't it? Standard thruster.
Favourite surfer and why? And you can't say yourself.
It's definitely not me, I'll tell you that much. Like, right this second, it's got to be Kai Lenny, isn't it?
He's a bit of a legend.
It just does everything. And he's super nice. It's, so...
He does everything well, and that's the key thing.
Yeah, he's no messing. Yeah, he's sick. I love it.
He's the person you love to hate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just like, from 1 foot to, giant jaws to massive Nazare to windsurfing, kite surfing, foiling, whatever in the water is just insane.
So basically just a waterman,
Yeah.
really. You're the first surf movie you ever watched?
It's like Mad Wax or something like that. Is it Mad Wax?
I don't know, I've never heard of that one.
Mad Wax? Mad Wax. I don't know. It's one where they used to rub the wax on the board. It was a Quicksilver movie. And he used to go to places.
Oh, didn't Taj Burrow do something similar? Like he did a film called Fair Bits, and he had like a stick of wax.
Maybe that was
and he waxed it on his board, and then he used to get picked up, and then a skateboard went over it, and then other people, yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was that. Or six. I think the first one I bought a VHF of Sick Joy,
okay,
which I watched to death. Bought it from Tiki Surf Shop when I was like 13. Watched it a million times.
Classic VHS, getting worn out.
Yeah, that's pretty. I love that. After school, we used to watch that.
The last surf film you watched, edit. Well, throw edit in there too.
Do you know what? It's tough because now I spend too much time watching 15-second Instagram stuff. The last movie I watched, the full movie, was the Justine Dupont's new movie.
That's the Red Bull one, isn't it?
It's not a Red Bull one, no. No, it's not. It's she did an independent one. I've forgotten the name, but it's not a Red Bull one. Pretty sure it's not a Red Bull one. It's an independent. It's a French one. It's really good. So you check it out.
The best person to share a lineup with.
The best person to share a lineup with? I don't know, anyone.
We want names.
You want names?
I want some names. And not made up ones either.
Made up ones. I don't like. I think. Well, I've got a few people that I can think of, but if there's no one around, like for froth levels, it'd be like Taz Knight, because he just like he absolutely froths on no matter whether it's like 1 foot or 50 foot, you know, or whether it's like a fat point or it's like death slab. Like he's a frother. So and he rips and he charges. In the actual Savage Waters movie, we had some really fun waves in the Azores, and it was just me and him a lot of the time, and he pushes you and amps you up. So I'd say him.
The worst person to share a lineup with, and again, I want some names, and they're not made up.
Oh,
not Big Dave. Big Dave's the worst one.
I don't know. Like, I often when I'm at home, I just surf on myself. And the reason is that. Like, I just getting caught up and competing like paddle battles and like frothing for mediocre waves are hard for me. So I like to sort of try and surf as much as I can by myself. People that you don't want to get stuck with in a lineup. I can think of a few names. Do you want, like, how many names?
That's all right. If you don't want to name them, you don't have to.
I won't name them. But yeah, like people will froth and paddle around you and sort of drop in on you. Like, I can't stand that.
If there was one place to surf for the rest of your life, where would it be?
Probably Down End Point.
That is a good answer.
Yeah.
Keep it local.
Yeah, like it's just, it can be good. Generally shit, but it can be good. You do always do a few turns, definitely a few cutbacks, and once in a blue moon you can get the odd barrel. There you go.
And here's a story for you. That is the only place in the whole world I've ever surfed I've nearly drowned.
No way.
Yeah, I went out one day on my own, like first light, misjudged how big it was, and you know what it's like when it gets big. The current there is pretty
savage.
Yeah. It's hardcore. It took me about 20 minutes to paddle from the right hand side. I paddled up to the actual
Point,
peak, but it kept pulling you back like it does. And one of the things I didn't want to do was get caught inside, because if I got caught inside, it was pushing back in from low. And I did. I got in a little bit too deep, didn't catch one properly, got caught in one of the fingers,
the gullies,
and I couldn't stand up. And I was there for probably couple of minutes. Every time I tried to get back to my feet, I just got knocked off my feet, and I was just under the water for ages. And I got to the point where there was nobody around. No one would have been able to help me. I was losing the air in my lungs, and I was like, if I don't get out of here, that's it. I'm
way.
Done. And I managed just to scrabble up one of the fingers.
But they're so gnarly. I've been caught in one of those gullies, and it was in the summer, years ago, and it cut my feet to shreds, like it was savage. And I've actually, again, so talking about this is how dangerous the point is. I was surfing it once with I don't know if you know a guy called Simon Skelton, and it was pretty big, and we're down underneath Chesil Cliff, where the big house is now, the thing is now. So we're going to paddle out there because it's pretty big, and then paddle around. Yeah. And he jumped in the gully and got it sucked out like really quick, almost dry, and then a massive wall of water came in, and it pinned him and his head, like he got rammed back into the gully head first. Massive, took a big triangle chunk of skin off the top of his head, like he had stitches in his head. I thought, savage. It's a pretty gnarly spot.
But it's a good place to surf when you get the right one.
Yeah, but it's fun, yeah.
Cotty, thanks for joining me on the podcast, and I've appreciated your time. You've spun some amazing stories, mate, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
And that's it. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share and subscribe on your podcast provider, and also leave a little review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.